G'day and welcome to another Glavic camping cuisine. Today I'm at the Canterbury Caravans in Bayswater, right by the busy Dorset Road. Melbourne has turned the weather up, it's wet and gloomy, but we're inside this great Viscount wild chart where I'll be cooking some bacon bourbon meatballs on this amazing Thetford oven and cooktop combo. For our meatball mixture, we need some streaky bacon, some mincemeat, onion, some parsley, breadcrumbs, salt, garlic powder, some ground chilli, black pepper, olive oil and 1 egg. Now for our bourbon barbecue sauce, we need some bourbon, some tomato sauce, some Worcestershire sauce, Dijon mustard and some brown sugar and some paprika. So to begin this recipe, I'm going to start off with getting my finely diced bacon in a pan of oil. So we only need 3 rashers of bacon. Now they're quite large rashers and I love my bacon crispy, but we want it nice and fine just to get that smoky bacon flavour through our meatballs. So the combo is great for this recipe. We've got the cooktop where we're going to be doing our bacon, bourbon, meatballs, and then finally we'll throw them into the oven. It's a great little combo. And as usual, so easy to fire up. We've got the oil in the pan, and we'll get our bacon in there. We don't want charcoal, just want crispy bacon. Now I'm going to stir this bacon through the oil. I'll let that sit there and get working on our mixture. We're getting our bacon to crisp up. It's going to be a nice flavour, nice texture to our meatballs. I'm going to turn the heat down just a little bit. Now we'll start working on this mixture. For the mixture we're going to need some mincemeat, our onion and our parsley. Now I'm going to begin with dicing up half an onion. We want it nice and fine. We don't want chunky bits of onion in our meatballs, so we're nice and fine. I'm going to fire up the Sirocco fan. That should circulate the air in here. Now this should also help me with my crying problems with the onion. We need the onion finely diced. Now I'm going to check the bacon, make sure we're not over cooking it. Looking beautiful. You can see that nice golden colour. That's exactly what we want. Now the bacon's looking quite crispy. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the heat off and let that cool down so I don't burn my fingers when adding it to the mixture. Now I'm going to get the onion into our mixing bowl. And we're going to need roughly about a handful of parsley. We want this finely diced as well. Now you may have noticed, I didn't shed a tear. Those Sirocco fans really did their job well. Now I've got the parsley finely diced. We'll get that into the mixing bowl as well. We'll get roughly about 500 grams of mince into that mixing bowl. Left the paper behind. We don't want any paper in our mix. We'll get our seasoning inside. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, about half a teaspoon of some ground chilli, powder, and half a teaspoon of black pepper. Then we're going to add some breadcrumbs, about half a cup of breadcrumbs. Now finally we've got to add our bacon. Now bacon should have cooled down by now. We've really got that bacon nice and crispy. That Thetford did a great job. Took no time at all. So we've got our bacon in there. We just need one more ingredient and that's the egg. Now before I get my hands in that mixture, I'm going to preheat our Thetford oven and get our baking tray ready. Now we're going to set the oven to about 180 degrees. Now in the baking tray, it's important to line it with some baking paper. It'll stop the meatballs from sticking to the tray. Now I'm going to use some gloves. Gloves are really handy, especially when you're traveling in remote areas where water is scarce. Why waste water washing your hands when the glove up? Now we're going to get cracking. We're going to mix this mixture thoroughly, get all those ingredients and the bacon right through that mincemeat. Once you've got all the ingredients mixed through, we'll start making our meatballs. Now when it comes to making the size of the meatballs, you can use these as a side dish, as a share plate or an appetizer. If you're going to use them as a main meal or a main course, you can add some mashed potatoes and make the meatballs a little bit larger. Today we're making them smaller. So to neatly stack our meatballs on the tray and get them in the oven. As you can see, half a kilo of mince will make roughly about 12 medium-sized meatballs. I've just got to peel these off. Got some clean hands and we'll get this into our Thetford oven. Now I've had the Thetford oven preheated to 180 degrees. So our meatballs should take about, we want them in there for about 15 to 20 minutes. Now that 15 to 20 minutes is more than enough time to get our bourbon barbecue sauce ready. Now for that, I'm gonna need a saucepan. I'm gonna clean up our kitchen bench here, get our saucepan and get our ingredients in there. A third cup brown sugar. We need a third cup of tomato sauce. And a quarter cup of bourbon. We'll save some for later. We need half a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of Dijon mustard, in goes a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, and we need a quarter teaspoon of paprika. I've got the saucepan on a medium heat. It's time to stir our ingredients together, and we want our sauce, we want it bubbly, we want to cook the alcohol out. You can really smell the ingredients coming through. It's giving out a beautiful aroma. The meatballs are going to be begging to be glazed in this sauce. Now I can see the sugar has really dissolved nicely. It's really important the sugar dissolves right through that sauce. We don't want any clumps of brown sugar in there. I'll reduce the heat on our sauce and check on our meatballs. Now those meatballs are well and truly cooked. They will stay together when I mix them with the sauce. Now it's time to get our meatballs out of the oven. Look at that, they look so good. We'll get them up on our cooktop. Now we'll get our meatballs into that pan. The pan's already sizzling away. The Thetford's got some grunt. It's time to add our bacon bourbon sauce. Now we'll get this sauce straight into the pan. What we want to do is we want to coat them. You want to toss the meatballs around that sauce and get that sauce really glazed over that meatball. Our goal isn't to cook these meatballs, it's just to get that barbecue sauce glazed. Now I can see most of the sauce has been absorbed by those meatballs. I'm going to turn the heat off and plate these up. You can really see that bourbon sauce glazed on that meatball. I'm going to garnish it with a bit of parsley. So I've jumped the gun, I've snuck in before my taste tester got here. I'm going to use a Sirocco fan to cool this down so I can gulp it down and hide the evidence. I did the job really well. So I'm here with my official taste tester. I've got the bacon bourbon meatballs ready to go. I want to see what she thinks. Get your teeth into those and let me know what you think.
I can see there's one missing already.
What do you mean one missing? I don't know what you're talking about. Look into that. What do you reckon?
Ready?
It's not too hot. It's got a nice bit of spice to that, bit of kick, hasn't it?
Yeah, really good.
Now, do we share that with our friends or do we keep it to ourselves?
I don't think there's enough to share.
And there you have it, guys. A beautiful, delicious meal Jada approves of. Means it's another success story. Thanks for joining us at another Go RV Camping Cuisine. Thanks to our mates at Thetford and those trusty Sirocco fans.